The pump is never over, folks. Boy, I know I'm feeling good. The crypto markets are starting to decouple from stocks. We may have cooled down a little bit, but we're expecting to cool down. I'm still feeling very bullish, still feeling very excited. I'm still feeling very, very optimistic about this upcoming bull run. We got TJ and Josh with us on the ones and twos. How are you two doing today?
Fantastic. In the corner today. I'm loving it. I got grounded.
Yeah, it's a little easy. Yeah, you get to sit, and that's the main difference here. You know, I like the shoes, man. I need that with my shirt here. But we got TJ. TJ, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. Love seeing Bitcoin going up.
All right, and we're also talking some alts, and we do got some alts that are performing quite well today. Folks, we're going to talk about Bitcoin and the decoupling we're experiencing with Bitcoin and stocks. So long have we said, well, Bitcoin has a strong correlation with tech stocks. Bitcoin has a strong correlation with growth stocks. Bitcoin has a strong correlation with the risk adverse or the risky stocks here. Those days might be behind us. So I don't want to hear about the S&P is dropping. I don't want to hear about, well, NASDAQ is, showing some strong resistance at these levels, so I better sell my Bitcoin. Bitcoin might be the new master asset, the apex predator of all assets. I know Michael Saylor, he had that prediction 3 years ago.
Yep.
Well, it may be coming true today. All right, let's get right into the show here. Folks, make sure you check out Josh's video. Came out last night. Let me hit home. All right, right here. You are here. And I would say that kind of sums up where we are within the 4-year cycle. Still a firm believer in the 4-year cycle. But I want to ask you, do you feel like, just looking at that thumb in the video that you were in yesterday, do you feel like that's pretty accurate? I can't help but say, I'm getting a lot of echoes of 2020 right now.
Yeah, the vibes are coming back. It feels like late 2020 or maybe that early January. We're all kind of debating on where we're currently at, but it does feel like that life's coming back from the market. So it felt right. It felt right. The thumbnail looked good, and the video is immaculate. So make sure you guys go check that out.
Yeah, go check that out. I do want to share, you talked about the vibes. I think we're not going to go into the X minute just yet, but I don't have it. There's the meme of it's Leo DiCaprio, and it has him, it's like, Bitcoin at 35K today, but then it shows Leo from The Revenant, and it's like Bitcoin at 35K about a year ago or on the way down. And oh my, how things feel different when they're on the way up versus when they're on the way down. In fact, I remember people feeling bad about 50K. Yeah. There's a point where 50K was a scary number. Oh no, if we go below that, it's over. Now, can you imagine how positive we would feel if we hit 50K? It's a night and day difference, folks. All right, make sure you're following us on X. Follow Josh Jake. It's not Joshua Jake. It's Joshua Jake. So you want to make sure you have the Z. Is a fake account? Do they have the S?
Yeah, so that's actually why I had to do that in the beginning. Yeah, so, there's a lot of Joshua Jakes out there. It's a very common name. My parents just grabbed that right out of the Bible. They didn't try too hard. So unfortunately, it's a lot of competition on social media.
Hey man, it's the resurrection of the basic names here. The new Speaker of the House, his name might be Mike Johnson. It's like John Smith, a Mike. Is there any kind of combination of those names we get to come up, maybe just some vague thing where no one can really remember? Like, oh, we got a Mike Johnson in the back. All right, that's perfect. Go ahead, sign him up. All right, so it's Josh Jake, and you also catch his content here on TikTok. 532,000 followers. I need to throw my TikTok up here too as well. All right, guys, let's get into the crypto market though. I just hit refresh, but I like that fresh data, so we're going to hit it again. Just like that, things update, folks. We were up 0.7, now we're up 0.6 here. You can see the crypto market cap coming in at $1.3 trillion.
And real quick on that, we were talking a little bit this morning about how that 1.3 trillion total market cap could be a little bit of total market cap resistance from, on the way back down. So,
or it might break through.
Yeah.
People were wanting to slow it down. No, not Joshua Zake. No, has the Z, not the Josh name. All right. But that's probably, you know what? You just made a new fake account. Someone's like, oh, good idea. And now I'm going to send you a message. How'd your trades going? All right. Let's go and look at the 24-hour. What is going on with this 24-hour volume? TJ, let me get your take here. I can't even remember the last time I've seen, it's very rare we get triple digits. I can't even remember the last time we saw over $200 billion. It almost looks like a glitch. This is such a high departure. Because, we have skyrocketed. We've been hanging around this 30 to 50 billion, and now we're coming in at 230. What do you think this is? Is Bitcoin whales taking profit? That would be my best guess here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these could be liquidations. It's a lot of money changing hands at these levels, but I think it's just interest and money coming back into the market. We've got a lot of stuff, a lot of stables on the sidelines, a lot of cash on the sidelines. And I think the FOMO is just starting to kick in, I think, a little bit from a lot of the bigger players. When you see Bitcoin take a big move like it did over this past weekend, it could potentially rally into this weekend. I'll be really interested to see what it does next week. Yeah, seeing these volume numbers kick up is very promising for all of this moving forward. It's exciting. It's fun to be. It's like we're back. We're back.
Yeah, we're back, and we're seeing also a lot of Hex volume too. So maybe Richard Hart woke up that God ETH wallet. Who knows? All right, Bitcoin dominance coming in at 51.2. I'm not feeling the best about my bet with Tim Warren that we won't hit 60 before we hit 70K, but I'm still being optimistic here. ETH dominance coming in at 16.6, and surprisingly low gas for $230 billion in volume. Gas only 34 gwei, so really not too bad in the grand scheme of things. Let me zoom out a little bit. Bitcoin's price coming in at $34,181. Still kind of just ranging around in this 34,500 to 33,500 range. Bitcoin down about 1.3%. Ethereum down about 0.1%, now below 1,800. Let's click on this, just see how much it's been battling that level. Okay. Going against it, trying to pass it, passed it, fake out, fall through support, and then come through, test support again, and now we're falling through. So we're going to maybe want to take a nice look at that one with the charts here. Let's look at some of these other movements here. Look at that Solana pullback there. So a lot of people taking some profits off that Solana pump. You can see it's up 31% for the week, but now a nice little 5% correction. And then Dogecoin, I said a lot of Pepe whales are going to roll their profits into a meme, and I chose Doge as the meme. Took about a week, but it looks like maybe now it's starting to happen. I should have put my money where my mouth is. I didn't listen to my own theory, but if you did, you're making some money, so go ahead and hit that like button. I appreciate it. All right, we have Chainlink whales, probably, Sergey, he's starting to sell, so it's down about 4%, but still above $10. So 10.73, really good price. Now's the time to look at the top gainers. You excited for this, Josh?
I'm stoked every single day. Well, actually, today's top gainers, you're going to see who it is. You'll see who it is in just a second.
It's your favorite coin, right? It's when you see it, you want to throw a Gala. I'm talking about Gala, the gaming token. What is your opinion on Gala? It is up 42% for the week. Still below 2 cents, though, but it's above a penny.
Yeah, I used to love Gala Games. I really did. I used to hold on to it a lot in the last bull run and leading into this bear market. But it was kind of, we just kept getting just plunged by a very, very thick samurai sword, just straight through the chest by the team and the foundation. And so, just slowly over time, I started starting to step away a little bit after what they were doing.
Did you get in before the major pump right here? So I got on the max chart. Now it looks like this was right around, so right when Bitcoin was pumping, November 2021, Gala went all the way from under about a dime to about 65, 70 cents there. So when did you get in?
I didn't get in until about 20, 25 cents. I knew someone that just was running all their nodes and stuff. So he made me jump in, but I made a quick profit off of it. But yeah, and then kind of just fell in love with the community, got involved with the NFTs, was like, oh my goodness, play to earn game is going to be huge. And there was just a few, discrepancies that took place with the team and the foundation and early on NFTs. So,
well, I think there's a good lesson there too, because same thing. We got excited about Gala. We played with some of the nodes. I've been to Galaverse. I'm very intrigued at where Web3 gaming is going to go. But he mentioned a lot of different things: the team, the focus, the initiatives that they were on. And when I went to Galaverse, I believe it was 21, maybe. Yeah, it was summer of 21. They were unveiling the music stuff and Gala films, and they were definitely very split focus, going a lot of different directions. One of the original founders, definitely strong resume, but seeing a lot of the different initiatives that they had, made me pause and wait a minute, just stick to games. If you guys go to all these different directions, it's definitely going to get fragmented very quickly. And so I think there's something to be said there for watching a project, seeing what they're working on. They can have a really good idea, be in a really good niche. Just because the project doesn't necessarily succeed doesn't mean gaming, Web3 gaming isn't going to succeed. And I still would like to see where some of their games come out, because they've got a lot in development, but the tokenomics, we've said for quite some time on this channel, a lot to be desired for. And that happens a lot in gaming. You get people that know how to make games, but they don't know anything about blockchain. And so you end up with a good game and bad tokenomics. And then the inverse, you might have really good tokenomics, but a unplayable game, and that we haven't really found a happy medium yet. And
I will say this about gaming tokens: it's going to have a high percentage of investors are retail compared to very obscure DeFi play, compared to this L2 side chain those are going to have more of the the in-depth people. Gala is going to have a huge influx of retail, is my prediction, and then the markets can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. And so you could be screaming at these people, don't buy this because look at this huge token unlock, and they're going to be like, yeah, I don't really know what that means. I'm going to go ahead and buy this coin. Shut up, nerd. So that's going to be my 2 cents on, the counter where, hey, these tokenomics are terrible. There's no way it can pump. There's going to be a huge percentage of people who just do not care about that, unfortunately. Fortunately.
I agree with Crimson Caravan Company. He says Web3 gaming is going places, but I don't think Gala's going to take it there.
Okay.
I tend to agree.
All right.
Yeah, I think Play to Earn gaming is going to be, especially in the esports category. I mean, there's just so much you can do that's going to allow a lot more gamers there's millions and millions of streamers out there. I know you come from Twitch. It's such a competitive area. I think there's going to be a really good crossover in the future. But like you said, it's just we haven't found that perfect balance yet. And I do expect that to come in the future.
And don't you have a little bit of a gaming background, Josh?
Yep, just a little bit. Tried playing professionally, went to Vegas, competed, did the whole 9 yards, and then started there. That's where I actually started streaming.
What games?
So Fortnite's, Call of Duty, and then a game called Splitgate.
It's a young person's game. First-person shooters is a young person's game. If you look at Fortnite, like the world leaders are all teenagers or lower, and so at a certain point, like these milliseconds of reaction speed is what makes the
you peak
world
at like
champion.
22, 23, you can't do it anymore because some 12-year-old's going to be like, moving his fingers at 100 miles per hour.
300 APM. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and also there's really bad drug usage in first-person shooter esports.
Really?
Also in Magic. Yeah.
Not surprising.
Wow.
They actually rolled back the drug testing parameters. That's a real thing. It's like actually a recent story from this week. They rolled that back. So it's Adderall. So it's
Not surprising.
It's heavily abused in the gaming industry. All right, let's talk about some of the top gainers though. Speaking of being abused, we have Doge. It got abused all the way down from 69 cents, but now it is back to under 90% correction, folks. So we're back to 90% drawdown instead of 95%. So how do we feel about that? Doge coming in 7% pump up to 7 cents. Quant. God dang it. We were talking about Quant so much internally in the office in the past, I don't know, a lot yesterday and a lot this morning. I didn't know it was even the number 3 gainer. We got to get these shorts out. We should have got a short out, man. We should have done a quant short because, guys, this was on our radar. We were talking about it. Also, we have Roll Bitcoin. It's up 5.4% along with Rocket Pool. Shiba Inu. So I guess my theory did play out, folks. It said the Pepe whales are going to put it in meme tokens. Looks like it's finally happening. Arbitrum up 5%. The graph. Hey, man, what are your thoughts on the graph? I love the graph, by the way.
Indexing is a huge part of the industry, but if you're trying to read a white paper, I did kind of close my eyes and felt like I was in a library. But indexing is going to be needed for scaling and everything on Ethereum. So I do like Graph. I've looked into it in the past, made quite a few videos on it, but ultimately I don't hold it. I think that's just because I don't know. Again, it just wasn't. It's not the sexy token of the industry. You know what I mean?
No, and when you start breaking it down, it has a good moniker, which does not. I'm not saying this is what the graph is, but people call the graph the Google of blockchain.
Yeah.
They call it that. It doesn't really make any sense once you really kind of deep dive. But on the surface, it's a not totally unfair comparison. I can see retail. And speaking of retail, there's a couple retail plays. I think gaming's one. I think crypto.com, just the fact that it's called Crow, easy to say, crypto.com, great URL. I think that's going to play out in a large way. And I would say the same thing for the graph. Google of blockchain. Well, that sounds good. It's on Coinbase. I'm going to buy. Oh, it's under $1.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy it. So I really feel like retail is going to come back. Also, all the people that stayed on the sidelines who had huge pumps from it. So they're probably going to want to get back in. Yeah. All right. Avalanches. Then after that, guys, it gets a little bit boring. We're under 3%. So let's look at the top losers.
There's none.
My coins will not be on here. My coins will not be on here. Say it with me, chat. My coins will not be on here. My coins will not be on here. All right. Well, I have Solana. All right. Well, you know what? Another day, another dollar. We could try again tomorrow. Stacks is down 7%. Radix is down 5.4%. Solana, I actually found not a large amount. Okay. I opened up old Solana wallet and then I realized I had $895 USDC. My whole plan was to deploy it back into Solana during the bear market. I was too overexposed to too many coins and I totally forgot about it. And now it's sitting there on the sidelines. Should I wait for a pullback and then maybe dive back into that Solana? What do you guys think?
I mean, that's pretty much, yeah, I think what we're looking at right there is a little bit of a pullback from this pump. So
is this the pull? Yeah. Is this the entry? You know, we're down 5%. Should I just go ahead and, you know, I mean, that's $900 would be about 30 Solana. That would look, you know, hey, 30 Solana. I think it'll be higher than $30 a year from now. So maybe I'll deploy part of it. I'll update you guys as we go along. I tell you what, today I will deploy some in Solana. Then I'm gonna maybe keep some on the sidelines and buy some more later.
I mean, that's the Solana chart right there that Josh is looking at. I mean, it's definitely, what is that, the 90-day you're on?
It's a 90-day, yeah. It's up quite
looks like
a
I'm
bit.
buying the wick on that thing.
But you know, with Solana, it's one of those projects that it's just the community, it's the volume, it's the gaming, it's everything. It's a part of it.
It's jump capital pumping,
yeah. So that's gonna be a winner this next run.
Yeah, if I'm buying it, jump capital is a large reason. It's not because, you know, I see that it's, you know, I'm buying into the wick there, but VC money, they got more than me. So, you know, if they want to pump their bag, hey, maybe I'll ride along. All right, we have Bitcoin SV down about 4%, Injective down 4%, and Chainlink also cooling off. But look at that Chainlink weekly, and look at that Injective weekly. I think it's just some healthy corrections. And then I had to scroll here just because I saw a number flashing out at me. We have Nina. 3.4 was flashing out. Hakeem Olajuwon, shout out to number 34. Nina is up 69% for the week. So also just maybe a little bit of a healthy pullback. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Still have Nina in the portfolio there. But
I think it's all eyes on Bitcoin, really. If it can continue off of this move, you know, then a lot of these other alts will probably get strong pumps. If Bitcoin pulls back a little bit to retest 32 or 30K, I think just like we saw on the way up, we'll see strong corrections from these altcoins. So
speaking of Bitcoin, did you see the Da Vinci Carl clip with Hex?
No, I've not yet.
All right, so they're looking at crypto bubbles, and you know, they're like, "Oh yeah, guys, these crypto bubbles, it's not looking great." Hex is just too used. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to find it. Maybe I could type in Carl and get it in there. But they pull up the dollar amount, and everything is green. They hit the 1 month, everything is green. But they're like, "Guys, wait for this. We're gonna move it from U.S. dollars to satoshis, and watch all these bubbles turn red." And then they hit it, and then Hex is still a giant green, and they're like, "Oh." Well, Hex. Yeah, and then you see him like it was like up over 100% in Bitcoin, while everything else was bleeding Bitcoin except like Roll Bitcoin, Chainlink, and then Hex with 100%.
Yeah, you keep saying that too many times, the whole army will show up in here, so be careful.
All right, all over Twitter. They'll just be like, yeah.
You know what? Let's actually look at it, because I was looking at the coin. It looks like it's went from 0.002 and then you know, maybe getting back towards a penny. A little bit of a rejection around there. So yeah, you can see it here all the way. Okay, a little bit 2.9. So close to a third of a penny. And then now we're down to or up to about 1.2 almost. Pulled back a little bit. And now below a penny again. I remember thinking, man, if Hex goes to a nickel, I might try to buy some because I think it'll go back up. And now, like, it's at a penny, and I'm like, maybe. All right. That being said, I think it's going to get pumped, folks. Do you think it's going to go up? I don't think it'll hit 50 cents again, but I bet it hit a quarter. What do you think, TJ?
I don't know. Sure, I think it could pump. I don't know. I'm not a big Hex fan, so I'm not.
I wonder if Hakeem the Dream has crypto. Maybe. Have you ever held any Hex?
Never, and then never. But hey, you know, again, they have a really strong community. I'm constantly on Twitter Spaces debating a lot of the Hex holders. You know, they have a lot. They have their Pulse chain. They had to sacrifice, you know, themselves or whatever that was happening with their token. But you know, with that community, again, you probably will see you'll see gains, but a quarter.
What's your
I don't
thoughts on
necessarily
Richard?
know.
What's your thoughts on Richard?
I'm not a fan of Richard Hard at all. I think he's quite the grifter. Just because of just the marketing around Hex, and there is no fundamental utility to it. I know a lot of people might disagree with that, but there is no utility, in my opinion, towards that other than Greater Fool's theory.
Mm-hmm.
And so from that, it's like when you're buying your Louis Vuitton, you're on private jets, you're eating your caviar while the bear market's taking place, and you're just selling off all that profit. I think we all know really in chat who owns the wallet and who created it with all the tokens, even though he's never admitted it. But, so there's my kind of thoughts on that. But again, with that said, that doesn't mean those type of figures generally can pull an audience and can build a community. And you have people that will follow Richard Hart to the end of the earth.
Why is Hex number 207 on CoinMarketCap when the market cap is 1.7 billion? Because CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, and some of these other aggregators of data, pricing data, they say They don't like the certain tokenomics.
Well, you have to meet a certain level of requirements on these websites to make, for them to, you have to kind of verify where the market cap comes from, because you can fake market cap on coins pretty easy.
Yep.
So that's why they keep it outside the top 200. And to Josh's point, he's right. This will rise and fall with Richard Hart. That is what Hex is. And as long as he's there pumping it, it can get pumped. There is a very strong community, but I think they're going to face more difficulties ahead with the SEC coming after Richard Hart.
Yep.
Richard Hart's not going to be able to be as involved as he's been in the past without significant heat on himself. So I would say, keep that in mind if you're looking to go all in on it.
Yeah, I do want to say my biggest pet peeve about it is just the website is very anti-Bitcoin and spreads a lot of misinformation on that in terms of the proof of work and mining and energy, which obviously I know a lot of people know. I nerd out about that. So it's like, that's probably the biggest, red flag.
But what's interesting is Richard Hart understands Bitcoin better than
most people.
Most Bitcoin maxi experts, I would say. He's a very intelligent person and also a master persuader. If you want to know persuasion techniques, just watch some of his videos. He puts on a masterclass, folks, if you know what you're looking for. All right, let's talk about the decoupling we were mentioning earlier in the show, the decoupling of Bitcoin from the stock market. So long have they been correlated. You could say it was, kind of said earlier, tech stocks or risky stocks or growth stocks. But essentially, the correlation was there. Printing money, well, stocks go up, Bitcoin goes up. Oh, quantitative tightening, stocks go down, Bitcoin go down. We're finally starting to see. We all predicted, it's going to decouple eventually. We don't know when. We don't know what cycle. We all had pretty good guesses here. It might be happening, folks. So let's look at this. Bitcoin flips. I actually had to look it up myself because I didn't believe it. Bitcoin flips Tesla's market cap amid strong Bitcoin price rally. I thought Tesla was above $1 trillion, but it was not.
I did too, yeah.
It used to be, but particularly data obtained by Finbold shows that Bitcoin commands a market cap of $677 billion, whereas Tesla has a market cap of $675 billion. So it's not much, but they have passed it by $2 billion. Here we have the market cap versus traditional stocks. So Bitcoin, Tesla, Eli Lilly, not that well known pharmaceutical. It's a European brand. I've drawn a blank on it. Visa coming in at $489 billion. Let's see, Taiwanese. What was the TSMC stand for again? It's Taiwanese.
It's Taiwan manufacturing company.
Semiconductor. Yeah.
All right, semiconductor.
All right, Walmart. Oh, Wally, the Sam Walton and Co. $438 billion. Exxon Mobil. And then JP Morgan Chase. I remember Exxon, I think, was the largest company in the world at one point. All right, for long considered highly volatile, Bitcoin has surged mainly driven by growing interest in the possible spot ETF rollout. Recent excitement stems from including BlackRock's ETF and a list managed by the DTCC, which we've covered extensively this week. And we're seeing some variations in Bitcoins and their traditional stocks here. The stocks are down. Bitcoin is way up. Will this time be different? The ETF hype can explain a lot what we're seeing, but analysts say that's not the only reason. So what else do we have for kind of helping this narrative get pushed forward? Let's look here. Analysts see mounting hype as the dominant force that's pulling crypto ahead while stocks appear relatively tepid. You can't state that run-up on Monday was due to anything else, he said here. All right, well, Bitcoin's correlation to equities has trended down over the past year, but the coin moved in tandem with stocks for much of 22. Before its recent rise, the correlation had already softened significantly. You can see that it's changed quite a lot in the past year. Correlation on the NASDAQ and the S&P has dropped from 0.79 and 8.2. Wow, I didn't expect that much of a drop. 0.2 and 0.16 respectively. Value of 1, in case you don't know, means perfect lockstep here. And value of 0 means it does the exact opposite. All right. The equities market will likely respond badly to rate cuts. All right. So here's the other reason. Equities will respond badly to rate cuts because it's an admission by the Fed that we're about to fall into recession. Equally, an admission by the Fed that they made a mistake would be good for Bitcoin. So explain like I'm 5 here, Josh. So the equity markets are going to respond badly to rate cuts. So when someone says the equity markets, I kind of have this idea of like, okay, so it's like, it means like treasuries and this basket of like these large governmental purchases and such. But what does it mean respond badly to rate cuts?
Yeah, so essentially, just to make this really simple, this is like a game of tug of war, guys, between
Ooh, I
the
like that.
ultra rich and the really, really poor, right? The 99% and the 1%. And as the interest rates are maintaining this high level of rates that Jerome Powell is putting on us, it's literally like whoever's just gonna pull and give up first. And when you talk about equities and talk about these giving up or seeing, these likely responding badly, just means simply that if we were to, cut the rates pretty quickly, it's going to send shockwaves into our market that would just, unfortunately, and we don't want to cut these too quickly, but is going to hurt the middle class and poverty a lot. So with equity stocks, they're going to impact in a negative way. They're going to drop in value. You're going to see commodities, things like precious metals, gold, tend to do a little bit better. And this is kind of the response that we're just waiting on over the next year. And so everybody's kind of crossing their fingers in this game of tug of war, really hoping that Jerome Powell doesn't necessarily cut too early and that he doesn't cut too late. And this is where the whole definition of a soft landing comes in. I'm sure you guys have heard the term transitory inflation in the past, and they keep setting up these new definitions and foundations for what's going to happen in the future. So to the comment here where he says the equity markets are likely to respond badly, just simply means, yes, that could mean that stocks are going to traditionally fall into recession. And historically, Bitcoin was pretty correlated, but now what we're starting to see is that decoupling and Bitcoin very much start to trade like a commodity, and that could be very, very bullish for us.
Yeah, and equity, just in short, if you're at home, equities is kind of like another way to say stock market. Equity is just having equity in a business. So if you're investing in a stock, holding a piece of some shares in a company, you have a little bit of equity, and that's usually what they're referring to.
Yeah, and it could be public, could be private. Treasuries are debt instruments. So it's essentially a debt instrument means, hey, is the government dumping debt on you? I guess it's probably the easiest way to say that.
Sorry, I tried to do 5. Tug of war wasn't good enough.
Yeah, no, it was great. That was a good answer there. But and I agree. If they start cutting rates, it will bode very well for Bitcoin, because that's what the Bitcoiners have been saying for quite some time, that the Fed can't handle this. Like, this isn't gonna work. And then if that starts happening, I think a lot of people are like, oh wow, they were right. Look at all this stuff going into Bitcoin. Look at how bad the economy is doing with these rates.
Yeah, and I don't want to be like the permeable, but like this makes me incredibly bullish on Bitcoin. It's because like no matter the outcome, it's either money printing or terrible economy. And that's all in the signs of why Bitcoin is created in the first place. So in my opinion, this all just flows over in the long term either way. And whether people are preying on the downfall of the US dollar, which I am not, again, with that money printing or the turnover, I do believe we're going to start seeing that decoupling take place pretty quickly over the next couple of years.
And that's another way. Yeah, that's another way to say it. Money printer go burr, good for Bitcoin.
Yeah. All right. And another bull scenario, in case you're not bullish enough, you're like, well, I feel a little bit of excitement, but I'm still not bullish. This to me is the most bullish thing I've read. I don't want to say it's as bullish as a BlackRock ETF, but I would say it's related, and it's essentially indicating that the BlackRock ETF is going to perform in a major way. We talked yesterday about gold ETFs. What happened? It was a 7-year period. It was 04. Well, it was like late 04, early 12. So we'll say 8-year period. It was an 8-year period, 04 to 2012. Gold, I almost said Bitcoin. Gold started $430 an ounce. Then a gold ETF was announced. Over those next 8 years, it went from 430 to 800 to 1,000 to 1,200 to 1,500 to 1,800. So it went from 400 to 1,800 from the beginning of the launch of the ETF to 8 years later. Well, all right, there's a lot of gold ETFs. Well, what do you think these people are going to do with these gold ETFs when a Bitcoin ETF? What do you want to see? What you want to see is, in a perfect world, they keep $10 in the gold ETF. They pull another 20 out of their pocket, and then they put in the Bitcoin ETF. Well, there's only finite money. So what we want to see these gold ETFs to get money pulled away, because they're going to be waiting on the sidelines to deploy in the Bitcoin ETF. Well, what's actually happening with the gold ETFs? Bitcoin winning as gold ETFs shrink, according to Michael McGlone here. So in a recent published post, chief commodity strategist of Bloomberg Intelligence, I will say this, in today's era of just crappy media, Bloomberg really has some strong guests on there. They have Eric Kalchunas, I think I'm saying it right, and then Jeff Seifert. I think we're kind of saying that one, right?
So we're taking a guess. Yeah.
Bloomberg, and then we got Mike McGlone. Mike McGlone, I followed it. He's had some hot takes too.
They've got good guests, but they're still hard to trust, I will say, because they still work their own narrative sometimes. So take everything with a grain of salt.
That's a good point. That's a good point. They have good analysts, but at the end of the day, you got to watch out for the ownership.
Always got to look where the money
editorial
comes
board.
From.
Yeah. I mean, it's Michael Bloomberg. So, enough said there. Manhattan billionaire. All right. So he shared his take on why Bitcoin's superiority over gold keeps growing and Bitcoin may eventually replace bullion. He wrote in his X post that Bitcoin is winning ground from gold as expectations for these Bitcoin ETFs keep piling up. All this, he stated, may be a sign that Bitcoin may gradually replace gold bullion. He said, well, Bloomberg, kind of to TJ's point. Bloomberg's intelligence, their bias, the bias of the main ownership, the editorial board, hey, no, we're still bullish on gold. But he continues, Bitcoin's recent divergent strength versus stocks and bonds exhibits maturation and diversification here. So I think he's kind of signaling, well, my boss says, we're still bullish on gold here, kind of as a company, but me, Jeff, Eric, a couple of us, we're looking around and, we're kind of giving you the little tidbits of what we can say where our bosses won't yell at us in the Slack group. So this is just signaling the shift here. We're starting to see a shift from gold to Bitcoin. And I think that's essentially all kind of what we were hoping that would happen. Just hasn't happened yet. This is the beginning signs. This is the first steps. This is the toddler starting to wobble. Pretty soon, he's going to be Jesse Owens sprinting. But let's sprint over to Kelly to see what's going on in the Bit Lab. Kelly, how are you doing? I'm already out of breath just from that.
I'm doing well, and you have such a perfect transition there for what it is I want to talk about today, because I'm a bull. I'm a bull, but there are some things we have to pay attention to. You guys were also talking about the decoupling of the stock market with Bitcoin, and let's go ahead and look at a chart on that. This is a S&P 500 to Bitcoin, strong decoupling there. I mean, I wouldn't even call this a divergence. I feel like we've seen this in the past, but I feel like we're at the start of something, because if we zoom out of the chart and talk about what's been on everybody's mind over the last 3 or 4 months, considering Larry Fink and his initial statement about Bitcoin being an asset that's going to transcend international currencies, and then he bolsters that most recently talking about Bitcoin being an asset that's going to signal a flight to quality. The question is going to be, there's going to be these periods of, strong correlation and then the decoupling of correlation with traditional assets. But it's important to consider with all this, is this scary looking right now? Everybody's wondering about the recession, and I don't want to talk about that, but we got to. Savings contracting at recessionary levels. Okay, next thing. We got credit card debt up over, $1 trillion. There's pressures coming in from all angles. Personal savings rate, basically lowest level since financial crisis. We see housing affordability index in the face of also the inflation we've seen, and no capital and no credit either. We have pressures on all assets, on all aspects when we're considering where capital is going to come from when we're looking at, is this going to sustain, or is it going to, couple back up? And are we going to see the markets pull back and Bitcoin pull back? The question, I think, rather shouldn't be that. It should be, at what point in time do we want to prepare for our future? Because Bitcoin is the future. We see digital assets being the future. And so when we see the pump that we just had, we can't consider that it may not have a small pullback, but we need to also know that on that small pullback, it's only another opportunity. So before we go, I just wanted to show you 2 more things here.
Before we go to the 2 things, Brian Mills, I want to answer a question because we want to interact with the chat here before it disappears. I like the narrative, but the charts don't show that on gold ETFs. There's 3 that are all up 10% over the past month. Gold ETF inflows, is it going to have, it's a little bit of a correlation, but gold can go up in price while money is pouring out of the ETFs. It could just be Russia buying spot bullion, like actual buying real bricks of gold. That's going to move the price much more than a ETF trading hands. But Kelly, back to you. Got 2 more for us here.
Yeah, 2 more for you. We're talking about if the market does have pressure, if Bitcoin as a market has pressure on it, if the traditional assets continue to collapse, because we've seen all these things breaking down. So the reserve risk, one of my favorite charts on here, it's a correlation between basically it's a correlation between risk and reward, showing you long-term holder bank relative to short-term. And so we're seeing this. Look how low this is. Even with the recent pump, we still have such an asymmetric reward opportunity as compared to risk. And with that, we have seen a lot of outflows recently. We still have not eclipsed back over into the inflows onto exchange. So where it goes with Bitcoin, we're right at that level. I would watch out for any pump to the upside, a 37.8 sort of level, but I still think we're looking at that to the downside for a retest. We're very early. We're still pre-halving. We got a lot of work to do, but even if the markets pull back, traditional markets, I think really what's going to happen here is the true start of this longer term trend of Bitcoin being its own asset, and the pressures may reduce the amount of bullishness, but I don't think it's going to fully pull down the market, barring some sort of 1929 event.
Yeah, we keep saying, barring a black swan, but, we're kind of joking, like the odds of a black swan supposed to be like, 1% chance of this crazy thing. Now everyone's like, I feel like a black swan's like 30-40% likely. Some are saying like 80%. It's a certainty.
We're living in 2023 now. I mean, let's look at the last 3 years. It feels like we've had like 6 black swans just in the world. So it's like, we got to prepare for downside, but even still, anything going to the downside, we see the tokenomics on Bitcoin. We see the institutional interest. Get prepared. Prepare for your future. Get involved. That's all I got. Adios.
I love it, Kelly. Love it. And you can check out that content at BitLab. So if you want to find that, go to the YouTube here. You can see it. And then if you click on channels, you'll see everything we have in the family. And then just go down here. Awesome channels: Blockchain Basement, BitLab Academy, Hit Network, of course, around the blockchain. All right, let's talk more about some Bitcoin here, and then Bitfinex. I want to talk about, speaking of kind of doubling on what Kelly was saying, unprecedented series of Bitcoin inflows and outflows observed across all exchanges. So that just kind of says, hey, that crazy amount of volume that we saw, maybe that's a little key indicator there. But this is really what I want to say. Bitcoin supply absorption by various cohorts suggests impending halving event not fully priced in. People scooping it up is implying that, hey, we still have room to run to the upside here. Currently monthly. All right. So right now, 27,000 Bitcoin are released in a typical 30-day month. Along with other exchanges, we're seeing a significant absorption of this supply. So the balance of 27,000 is being consumed overwhelmingly, 25,000 by the shrimps, and crabs 2,265 here. Fish, sharks, and whales and super whales are decreasing. It's an unfortunate aspect. That's just kind of what the bull market looks like. It's the miners dumping on us on the whole way to the top. But that's okay. That's just what Bitcoin does.
Well, and one thing that I think is important to know is I got into a debate with somebody about the cycles over this, and it really, there's, I don't believe that the 4-year cycles really apply anymore. I'm like, well, do you believe in supply and demand?
Yeah. They're
like, yeah, I believe in supply and demand. And I said, okay, well, the demand is increasing, and when the supply that's getting created gets cut in half, that's going to create that forward push that we always see. And so this article is important, I believe, because you're going to hear this a lot. As the closer we get to the halving, the more you're going to hear, oh, it's priced in, the halving's priced in. And then if something not too dramatic happens after the halving, they'll say, see, we told you it was priced in. But that doesn't usually play out when the halving comes. We were looking at it a little bit earlier today. You see a run up kind of before the halving. It does pull back a little bit right after the halving. And then I think it was about 100, maybe it was like 120 days. I think we looked it up after the last halving. I think it was 113 before we saw that huge run up. And I imagine we'll see something very similar again. So accumulation before the halving is always a great idea, regardless of what people tell you. It just takes a while for the supply demand economics to kick in.
I think there's a little disconnect because it's digital. So they think the supply is like, well, it's cut in half digitally, and so it should affect the whole entire globe and the whole entire market just right then and there, right? This Bitcoin block went from 6.25 to 3.125. It happened, right? I would look at it as, absorption. We're talking about supply. I always try to bring it to eggs for whatever reason. So imagine there's a day in the near future. It sounds like a Stephen King dystopian novel. Every chicken in the world has their egg supply cut in half. So they go from one every day to one every other day. Are you going to see it immediately at the grocery store at 2 p.m. if it happened at 10 a.m.? No, you wouldn't, because it's going to go from the coops to their supply, and then the truck comes every Tuesday, and then it goes from that truck goes to a warehouse, then it sits in that warehouse, and it goes from that warehouse to the distribution center for the grocery store, then it sits in that warehouse and refrigerator, then it goes from there, then it goes to the regional area, then it chooses which of the 10 Publix that it's going to go to. This is going to take a long time so all these eggs, they're going to be getting bought up, and then eventually you're like, oh, I can see up the supply chain, we're going to start running out. Let's go ahead and increase the price of eggs 10%. They might know eggs are going to double, but they're not just going to double it on you. Just same thing with Bitcoin. We all might know, Bitcoin has to double from these levels, right? It's not going to be overnight. It's going to be let that supply get absorbed. We got to absorb it all, folks.
I don't know if people actually realize too, a big thing that just took place was institutions saying they didn't understand there was so much demand for Bitcoin. So with us watching on exchange reserves right now, Bitcoin be taken off exchanges. And like you're saying, we're watching this transfer between massive wallets. We can't even necessarily it's all speculation into how much demand there's actually going to be when all of these ETFs do get released. How much Bitcoin are they going to be buying over the counter? How much are they going to be taken off these exchanges? And so back to TJ's point, the supply and demand factor into that is, these 4-year cycles, because you said you're arguing on the 4-year cycles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like, this is constantly happening in our economies. We're going to have high interest rates. We're going to have low interest rates. We're going to be risk on assets or risk off assets. And this is something that is unprecedented for our markets that we can't even expect or anticipate. So when people say like it's priced in for Bitcoin, I'm like, how is it priced in if institutions can't even price it in?
Yeah, I mean, what is it you're looking at on your computer there? That looks pretty interesting.
This was the volume transfer for, I think DZ actually already pulled this up here.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll pull up the exchange reserves here in a little bit. But yeah, we're just watching that transition. He made the joke that miners are selling us all the way up, and that's so true. But it goes for the institutions as well. If they can't anticipate how much money is actually going to come into this market, how much demand is here, we don't even know what the effect is going to be on that supply.
All right. Well, let's speaking of supply, look at the supply of the stable coin here. Bitfinex Securities enters bond market with an 84 billion stablecoin USDT. Leading broker Bitfinex has recently announced the coming of a new tokenized bond denominated in the largest stablecoin Tether. They proclaimed the development in a recent post on the X platform, noting that the countdown for the new tokenized bond has begun. Here's an interesting theory. Are people going to start, just like how Tether locks up a bunch of US treasuries and they kind of just sit there for a long time, are people going to lock up large amounts of Tether and then lock that up and, create this 10-year instrument that they're going to sell, whether it's a bunch of car loans, kind of like the example I gave earlier in the week, or here's 40,000 home mortgages, or, here's $10 billion of random countries, 10-year treasuries, 5-year treasuries, and 2-year treasuries. Take that.
Yes.
What's going to happen with all this Tether? Is it just going to sit there? So buying pressure for Tether, will that create any kind of significant change for Bitcoin's price? I think, if anything, it eases these institutions into handling digital assets, which then increases the odds that they just might buy some Bitcoin and just store it in cold storage, just let it sit there. So in a weird way, I think it is bullish.
I would say it's going to take some time, but yeah, I think USDC especially and USDT will be the new form that people use treasuries in. It's just going to take some time for them to get the policy and the regulation in place. That's why they're so focused on stablecoin regulation right now and policy and custody, who can be, verified custodians more or less, or they're, approved custodians. And once that gets done, I think we will see a lot of digitization of treasuries. That's where the RWAs get talked about. I did see a question here in the chat from Candle Daddy asking about Joshua Jake's favorite D-side picks. We are here in just a minute when we get into the altcoin recap, going to talk about altcoins for a bit. So we'll get into that there. Everybody's favorite picks. So let us know in the chat some of yours as well.
Nice little Q&A at the end. All right. JP Morgan handles 1 billion transactions daily in digital token JPM coin. I'm waiting for that number to get a little bit higher. I think one day it'll be $1 trillion. I just don't know when. I mean, for reference, we had $220 billion traded in the past 24 hours. But on a slow day, when we have 25 billion, $1 billion is kind of significant, folks. So JP Morgan, just more and more what we're seeing with these large institutions feeling more comfortable handling crypto assets. So I'll be pretty excited. I can't scroll any more left than that, so we'll definitely have to fix this.
You can just collapse the window in a little bit.
Say what now?
You pull the window to the left.
Adjust the window size.
Yeah,
to the right.
It's a whole song and dance.
Other way.
There
you go.
And then it'll be bad for something else. But yeah. All right. ETH supply on exchanges drops to lowest level since 2015. Genesis as this event happened. So just more and more, it's not only Bitcoin being removed off exchanges, we're seeing the same thing with Ethereum. I would say this is a little bit is apples and oranges. Why? ETH staking. So it's a different animal. And it's not like that weird, give us your Bitcoin and we promise we'll give you 10%. Where's the yield come from? Don't worry about it. We know what we're doing. No, this is staking on platform. And I'm a little bit more comfortable staking within an ecosystem than I am with a random third party. All right. So let's talk about Cardano. Speaking of staking, I was looking at my Cardano stake and I got to go ahead and restake my min swap. Last time I said it, someone had a funny joke about that.
Men swapping?
Like, yeah. They're like, DZ likes it. But anyways, yeah. So I'll be doing that after the show. Let's talk about Cardano here. Cardano poised to explode as Grayscale makes a major play, coinciding with Cardano going more heavily into stable coins. Interesting here. They've been slowly creeping up in the mainstream and on the radar of major players. This has led Grayscale to unveil a new way for institutional investors to gain exposure to crypto. We're going to have 5 new crypto indices here. The 5 would allow them to gain some exposure to different assets. So of the 5 that were announced, Cardano made the cut of one of the smart contract platforms that was being exposed. That's pretty good explored here. The Grayscale smart contract platform X Ethereum Fund sees Cardano maintain a 24% dominance here. I like that. Well, Dan, big fan of the show here. We love Dan. It's Crypto Capital Venture. Dan, also known Crypto Face, named him Blue Eyes White Dragon. I thought that was a pretty good name. Do you remember that episode?
Yeah.
That was a good episode. Blue Eyes White Dragon, he went to X to share the news. He explained that this could be a major game changer for the crypto industry, especially with institutional investors being given a way to play. We're talking big money, big players, and big validation for ADA.
Well, let's hang out here for a little bit because this is a subject that's come up a lot, I think, for a lot of Cardano holders. Cardano obviously kind of been a top altcoin for quite some time.
I'm still like Team Cardano is my biggest bag. For those who don't know, maybe just now tuning into the channel.
Yeah, I've got a lot of Cardano. We run a big node on Cardano, but it always seems to be on the outside of whatever club, whether the crypto club, so to speak. It was always, they never had any exposure to Grayscale before, even though Grayscale had all kinds of other trusts. So it's interesting to see them adding it now. Do you still feel it could be a top? Somebody was talking about, it might have been, Dan on X, or people talking about a 50 to 100x through institutional money coming in. Is anything like that possible? Do you still see Cardano being a top layer 1 5 years from now? DZ, what's your take?
I do see it being a top layer 1. They also have a good, you don't see it catch on. They have a good marketing phrase too. It's the world's first L3, I think is what they call themselves. No, first third generation L1. Okay. A lot of people are going to get real mad at me if I didn't fix that. Yeah, the first third gen L1. I think that is kind of a good marketing tactic. I am a big believer in it. Kind of to TJ's point, there is a little bit of a separation. We talked about it on ATB a little bit earlier in the week. The main separation stems way up the tree here because, down at the bottom, you might have TikTok people and, people making posts on X, but you go up another level, then you have the protocols, they kind of work together. You go up another level. Well, what's the base level for all crypto? It's the developers. The developers are the meat and potatoes of crypto. And then there's a huge network effect with EVM coding. Now we're starting to see a little bit of Solana as well. Well, within that network effect, if you're going to join, a coding language, you got 80 people speak this language and 10 people speak that language. And it's time for you to learn a second language. Which one would you choose? You're going to choose, in this case, Solidity, because that's where everyone's at. You see, it's like the popular lunch crowd. You're like, okay, well, Cardano's kind of its own ecosystem, its own, I would say echo chamber, but that might not be the right phrase here. So it's its own private party, and it's a different coding language. It's like Pascal and Plutus and all these things that really is just not that well known. And so until we could bridge that, or Pascal and Plutus gets more popular, I think it's going to stay that way.
Right.
But I think eventually there will be some sort of merging of language, whether it's AI. I think it will be simplified. I don't know if it'll be by humans. I don't know if it'll be by AI. I don't know if it will be by Charles Hoskinson saying, I did it. I think it will happen. I just don't know the mechanisms.
Yeah, I'll be curious to hear your take on it too, Josh, because I had a similar debate, exactly what you were talking about with the coding languages, and the guy gave a very good example. He's like, it's like, at the early Ethereum, you had a group of all these really smart people, and they were trying to solve this problem. They were running into some issues, and then there's 10 guys, like 3 of them decide, you know what? We're going to do, like English is great, but we need to do everything in Latin. Latin's a way better language. It's way more. We could do this, that, and the other. And then everybody was like, well, wait, nobody speaks Latin. Why?
Yeah, but it would be better, TJ. So that's why we need to use it, okay? Because they're, it's going to be better, TJ. So what do you think of the idea?
Exactly. And so they're like, okay, we had this internal debate. We kind of agreed that's crazy, but these 3 guys says, okay, we're going to go do it anyway. We're going to do it on our own. It's a better language. Everybody's going to catch up at some point. They'll see. And then they just went off.
You'll see. Hey guys, where's the money?
Yeah.
Where is everyone? VCs, pay attention to me.
Right.
That's what we're seeing.
And now it does exactly what you said. It's almost operating completely isolated from a lot of the other blockchain ecosystem, whether it's wallets, whether it's coding, whether it's exchanges. It's just become very difficult to integrate across the broader ecosystem. Almost anything else that has adoption, it's very hard to integrate it in. Can that be overcome even if it's a better blockchain once we get to network scale? That's my question, because a lot of what happens, I mean, people compare these to stocks a lot, but I think you'd have a much better time investing if you compare them to networks. Look at what networks do, look at the network effects, and can they achieve network effects while being very, very different than everything else is, and while those things are achieving network effects. What do you think? You have a thought on that, Josh?
Yeah, I'd treat a lot of these blockchains kind of just like SaaS models, right? So like a great example is BlackRock has a product known as Aladdin, and that's pretty much what manages and funds and like helps manage all of the financial institutions on a global scale. And so a lot of these networks are the same way. You have a lot of developers building off of it. And DZ made a great point. It goes all the way down to the developer base on what's going to make a network actually good. So taking that one step further, it's the developers that are not only going to have to make it good, but they have to develop products that want to drive community to that network and have people actually develop on it. So when you're walking and marching and looking for that VC money, looking for the crowd, right? You need a system that is easy to use. It's easy integration, and it's going to have people just fled to it. Something like, which would be considered what you mentioned is Solidity, which was developed by Gavin Wood, who's now obviously in charge of Polkadot and early on from the Ethereum Foundation. But so with that outlook, of course, I've heard a lot of, I'm not a coder myself, but I've heard a lot of these software engineers and coders pretty much just say, this is going to be a difficult system to build on top of. But to the point of things like quantum and AI advancing, it does not all shock me if we see in 4 to 5 years, even if Cardano, let's say just theoretically, right, falls behind a little bit on that curve because it can't get people to build. I would bet that there is going to be some virtual machine or interoperability measure that is created that allows these to communicate. So, the function there is just, okay, what's the development look like? Are they generating that community? And honestly, DZ would probably be the best one to answer that because I don't use a lot of the DeFi in that ecosystem. But as of right now, that's why I'm still very bullish on things like layer 2s on Ethereum, right? Because even though Ethereum is going to be slower and maybe more clunky to use than something like Cardano, everybody is building there. Everybody is using it at the moment. And it's just going to take time for a lot of these competitors to build.
Yeah, I think one of the main catalysts was as ETH gets more popular, that's going to be a positive for Cardano because someone's going to be, playing around with some ETH and they're going to try to do this DeFi play. They're going to see a $70 gas fee. And then they're going to be told by their nerdier friend, no, man, come to Cardano. The gas fee's only this. I only paid 20 cents and I sent 40 tokens to 40 wallets. Aren't you jealous?
I also expect to
a certain number will say, I'm curious. I'll check it out. Not everyone, though.
Yeah, I also expect like a lot of these systems to implement feeless in the future. Like, I don't know how they're going to implement that through a sidechain or something, but for these video games, like something through Cardano, I think they'll be able to get to that point in the future where it's like the video games like on a layer 2 elsewhere and making it just completely free to play.
Point.
I had a theory. All right, then we're gonna talk about quant right after this. You could do something like a Fortnite. You have the battle bus, and you only have an on-chain event once the battle royale is over. And so it's not like every time you pick up a gun, it's an event. It's, go ahead, do a 10, 20-minute session, and then it refreshes the data there. All right, let's do a little quant thing. We're going to do a little Q&A here.
Yeah, it was Martin Jin asked us to take a look
at quant. Bobby's point of view says quant. Sack nasty, me likey quant. We didn't even prompt you guys. Once Martin put in, take a look at quant. The quant mania. What are the quanticians? The quantifiers?
Quantifiers. I like that.
I like quantifiers. Do you know of any name for the quants?
Quanticans.
Quanticans. All right. Quantican Skywalker. Okay, I like it. All right. Quant crypto price is soaring as tokenization demand rises. Could you pull up that coin? Maybe we'll look at the chart too.
Yeah.
The price has been a strong bullish trend in the past few days as cryptos rally. It soared to a high of $106 on Thursday morning, the highest level since August 2nd. It surged more than 27% from the lowest level this year. They use an Overledger platform to help companies with tokenization. They help companies tokenize assets, develop multi-chain applications, integrate the tools with their API, and connect assets to a new ecosystem. So a lot of people like to say it's, maybe one of Chainlink's main competitors. I would say that's probably a fair statement here. They've surged above the 50-day and the 100-day moving averages. And at the same time, RSI, though, is an extreme overbought. The level is at 80. So maybe a little bit of a pullback, though. But in bullish times, RSI can hit 90, 100. So just, maybe not. But I would say I'd be looking for a little bit of a pullback. I know all quant I've bought is in a loss right now. I have been in quant for a while. I'd have to look. I don't even want to look at the all time. I'd probably just cry. But what are the charts looking like here?
Yeah, so I mean, up on the yearly
is that the week?
Yeah,
that's the 1 month.
This is a 1 month. This is the 1 month. The 1 month we up about 21%. That looks like.
All right, now I feel
from
bearish.
the yearly. Here you go. This is what you wanted to see. It was on the downtrend, but quant actually performed very well considering all things bear market.
I'll reveal live. I'm totally okay if I look like the biggest idiot. I don't think I bought $350, but if I did, I'm gonna share it, folks, because it's full transparency here.
I'm
just gonna see where I got in. I bought the top, folks. I don't know yet. Let's see. Okay, so I'm pulling it up. I've only okay, use Solana. Okay, I pulled this. Might be stepping. I wonder what profits this is from Solana. November 10, 22.
Okay.
I bought not bad, 120 a piece. Okay, I feel
we're
okay
almost
about
there.
that.
We're almost back.
Okay,
You're almost in the green.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah,
you're doing all right in the bear market. Yeah,
all right. I feel okay.
But yeah, so quant's like this is a product that did perform pretty well in that bear markets. A lot of people, I don't know how you want to take, if you want to take that as a win, you only drop 50%, you only drop 60%. That was a pretty big victory lap for a lot of people during this bear cycle.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the go ahead, hit it.
All right, or go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. I was just agreeing with you. Yeah, if anything that takes that gets hit less in a bear market, it's worth noting when you move forward into new bull markets. Yeah.
I have a second DZ indicator. Patented DZ indicator. I've never really heard anyone say. First indicator. Let me know what you think about this one. Altcoins that weren't able to put in a second all-time high in 2021, I'm generally bearish on. Meaning they pump with Bitcoin's first half, but then the second half, the community had already left. The token's dead, right? Essentially. Yeah. The next one, go back to the Josh's chart here. Go to that June low. Here's the other one. So we have the
June low?
Sorry, to the left, right, to the right, right there.
Okay.
Right there. No, June low.
Where I
22.
was pointing, right here.
June 22.
Why am I not being able to do math? So right here, June
22.
That's going to be
forward.
You're in 21.
Yeah. Oh, June 22.
June 22.
I thought you meant the 22nd
He's a smart guy,
of June.
Folks.
There we go. I'm getting there.
Don't use this
there
as
you
a
go. There's
basis
your low.
on judging.
I thought you meant June 22nd. I was like, I'm there. Okay, here you go.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay,
we'll let you slide on this one. All right, so here's DZ's second patented indicator I'm going to give you for free. If the Terra Luna collapse has a lower collapse than the FTX collapse, I'm generally bullish here. Where do we see that? Terra Luna pushed Ethereum below $1,000. Mm-hmm. You know who couldn't push Ethereum below 1,000? Sam Bankman-Fried. And so I think stronger projects. Now, there's not going to be a one-to-one correlation here, but I think the stronger projects didn't have such a capitulation event and with the November-December FTX collapse, because that was like, okay, all the rats flee the sinking ship. But if it didn't collapse, then that's when people are like, I'm a firm believer in this project. I don't care. I'm not selling at this level. And so what do you think of that secret DZ indicator number 2?
I think it's a great indicator, honestly. I think you're starting to see, even yesterday, we were talking about how long-term holders are starting to hold on longer despite dips, even if they are in profit at this point. And there's a lot of altcoins like that, like specifically quant, where a lot of these holders, quant's known to have something known as pumponomics, and that's because their tokenomics are actually really good. They have a small supply, the majority are in liquidation, their product is good. Gilbert Verdian, who developed it, he has developed TC307, which is a financial standard. So when you're talking about financial interoperability with financial institutions, the community behind this goes, okay, there is some substance to this. This is something that, hey, they have good business development. They've been working on Latin American dollars. They've been working with, like, I think the Digital Pound Foundation. They have these connections. And so, with that community, specifically on TikTok, I wasn't on the YouTube scene at that time yet. Quant was one of the leading communities for that functionality. We had good tokenomics. They had a great community. It had good products, and people were excited to see what they're going to develop. And so, for that reason, I think Quant's going to come back hard in this next run. It's also only sitting at a $1.2 billion market cap. So to your comparison a little bit earlier about Chainlink, a lot of people, I don't know why there's FUD or fear or even a debate between Link and Quant. It's going to be because of obviously the CCIP that was released this summer, and there's some similar functionalities. But Chainlink's sitting at like a $10 billion market cap. Quant's only at 1.2, and we've seen it hit outrageous numbers in this last cycle.
I'm looking at Chainlink right here. 6
billion?
6, yeah,
6 billion?
5.9.
So even from here to there would be like almost a 5x for Quant, because I'm not going to compare the two in terms of I really like CCIP. There might be some bias remarks there, but I think both are going to perform well, and I think Quant's got that community behind it.
Yeah, I think the connection comes to real world assets might have a strong thing there. All right, let's talk about Hamas here, but in relation to crypto. Warren finds support in U.S. House for efforts to tackle crypto finance terrorism. They're all basically using a Wall Street Journal bill, and then that Wall Street Journal article, and then that article is citing just some random crypto analysis here. But there is zero evidence Hamas is raising crypto donations by the millions. The wallet in question, I think they're quoting it for saying 100 some odd million, was only 450,000, and it was like years ago.
Yeah.
The amount remained tiny. Okay, is a tiny amount was raised here. So
they basically lumped in an entire exchange worth of volume instead of the wallet is what happened.
And not only that, I forgot they added an exchange volume and just threw that in. And as an example, so they're like, well, all right, well, here's one of the things you're talking about. This prominent campaign. What they raise? $21,000. That is a failed NFT launch on like a rank 50 altcoin here. Of the 21,000, almost half was frozen by Tether, and then another 2,000. So then end up being over half was then frozen by an exchange. Of the 21K, they didn't even get less than half. But you're gonna have Elizabeth Warren and other senators in the House of Representatives saying hundreds of millions of dollars is going to terrorists, so we got to crack down on crypto. And in fact, if you don't sign this, you're against America. How does it feel to be against America? They're like, well, what are you talking about? This is literally, none of this is true. So you're not going to sign it? So you're against America. Hey, everybody, he's against America. Go look at him. And that's what we're seeing right here. But you know what's going to suck? That's going to work for a lot of people. It's going to be our job to spread the awareness that it's a bunch of FUD. It's fake news. I hate saying that phrase because it comes with so much emotional baggage. That is fake news.
It is. Well, and unfortunately, like you said, the people you said, oh, they're going to say this isn't accurate. They don't know. They're just like, well, the Wall Street Journal said it. I guess it's accurate. They don't fact check when they go to do this.
Yeah. Let me point out a scenario to you. I'm not going to say Elizabeth Warren, you're a random politician. You call up your friendly reporter. Hey, say an anonymous source said this happened. Reporter releases the story. Then that same senator will say, I'm going to cite this article where they're saying this thing is happening, folks. So you really need to listen to me. Look, I didn't say it. Washington Post said it. Wall Street Journal said it, not me. It was you. All right. Let's talk about NFT markets, folks. We have a really funny.
I love how you just explained politics in 60 seconds. That was all of politics.
That's essentially what it is.
That was good.
Wait a minute. So you're not going to sign. So you do hate American babies. You want the American babies. Oh, no, I didn't say that at all. All right, let's talk about NFT. Then we're going to show a really good top G video. It's about 20 seconds. Makes me want to sell my ape, folks. But all right, no, NFT market remains sluggish despite crypto's rise. In the past week, we have Bitcoin surge to 22%. But meanwhile, according to Nansen, the floor price for NFTs, they're down on a 7-day basis when you look at some of the top projects. Overall trading volumes appears to have bottomed. Looks like the volumes on mainnet Ethereum hit a yearly low of under 50 million. But since then, we're starting to rally. And I will say this, just from what I'm seeing, I'm starting to see some positive mints. So that's usually a sign of maybe things turning around here. But now we're going to show Top G. He has a very good breakdown on NFTs, and it's a little bit of a rant. Just bear with it. Remove your feelings on my body double. And let's just see what he has to say.
$3 million for a JPEG. People can just copy and save the JPEG. No, but my JPEG's the real one. It's on the blockchain. Look on the blockchain. If you go to etherscan.com, bro, what planet are you on?
Bro,
Nobody gives a fuck about Etherscan, checking the blockchain. Even if I proved, after all, that I owned that picture, guess who would care? No one. Only nerds. It was a circle jerk of nerds. $3 million for
All right. Let's see. Takeaway. Is he right? Is he wrong? I would say, all right, there's a little bit. I think there will be, once it's easily verifiable, then it'll be a flex. But when you're like on Instagram, I am the one that owns this $10,000 NFT. People say, I right-clicked, saved it. Now I own it. I don't know when that education will happen. I think it will maybe happen when you see the 17-year-old buying a Bugatti because he sold some stupid monkey JPEG.
Yeah.
Maybe then people will say like, oh, wait, there is a thing about ownership. We're just not there yet.
Yeah, if you've ever been to an NFT party after you spend thousands and thousands of dollars on these just to get into the party, you would realize, yes, it's very much a circle jerk of nerds. So, in that sense, though, I do believe there's a lot of merit to NFTs. The problem is just this last cycle, we had a bunch of 17-year-old, 18-year-old anonymous people that were actually even 15, 16 ended up being a lot of these founders, which is just berserk to even think about. And so, these products were, like he said, just a random JPEG that was being put on blockchain to try to impress people. And so, of course, there is no fundamental value or underlying value or intrinsic value, to a lot of these JPEGs that exist out there. But with that said, there's still a lot of great, artists out there, NFTs, and I do think they're going to come back. But 2020, I can't defend that, to say that 2021 was not, a bunch of guys standing around in a circle doing some, improper actions.
Yeah, it's a fair assessment. It's a great analogy, and it's one that you're not going to forget.
Yeah.
Circle jerk and nerds.
My favorite underneath, I saw a comment underneath it when I looked at it that said, growth is knowing that you're both people in this video, which I agree. And that's kind of where I'm at of like, he's not wrong. Like you guys were just saying. However, there is good underlying tech. I'm still the nerd that believes in the underlying tech, the applications that can come, all of the different things there. But I'm the nerd.
He says
I do want to
super
clarify,
cycle.
I've never
He
been in a
says a
circle.
super cycle's coming. Sorry, go ahead.
I was like, I've never been in that circle. I've never been in that circle. Just please let Tate know. Yeah.
Hey, 8 Fest was a movie, y'all. No, 8 Fest was really fun. I will say that. I've been to several NFT parties. There's 8 Fest and there's everything else, and nothing really even comes close. All right, let's talk about Japanese financial giant SBI Holdings unveils an NFT initiative on the XRPL for the World Expo in 2025. The digital collectible is a collaborative effort between SBI VC Trade and another subsidiary of NFT. So we got just more and more growing of the NFT ecosystem on XRP. It's something we've been following for a while. We even have, maybe we'll dive back into it as we get closer to the bull run, though. But the XRP community, it doesn't really have much of a crossover. So many people are like, Banker's Coin taking over, and then it's like the degen hippo NFT traders. They're a little bit separate versus ETH is filled with more of like the meme coiners. It's meme coins and NFTs, strong overlap. XRP, it's, they're kind of like the anti-meme coin. They see themselves above. Would y'all say that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think if Tate was watching this, he'd say it's a circle jerk for a circle jerk community. So, the NFTs on XRPL, exactly what you just said. Their whole focus is ISO 222, the next banker coin, the flip of the switch, going to replace Swift, all these alternative payments. And honestly, the XRPL is actually quite late to the game with NFTs, but it is good to see that. I believe this is actually really bullish for the future of the XRPL, because I do want to see a lot more decentralization from the nodes that Ripple has a lot of control of, going back more to community members and people developing on there. So, it is in 2025. That's over a year and a half from now. But SBI, guys, if you didn't know, that's one of the largest financial giants in the Southeast Asia. So, that's huge.
Also, your State Bureau of Investigators, you don't want them looking at you. Real quick, and then we're going to do Q&A. SEC ups the ante in the Ripple case, seeking $770 million as a fine. So to me, this is just a strategy to make them sound really bad. It's like when you have a criminal and he's facing 827 years, you're like, oh my God, he must be a bad guy. And then you're like, yeah, he gave this poison pen to someone, so we charge him with harboring a pen, selling a pen, crossing state lines with a pen, collecting money from sales of a pen. And you're like, well, why did he get 27 charges from the one activity? I think we're kind of, well, it just sounds worse. So I think an insane fine, which is $770 million. That's an insane fine. It makes
That
them
makes me so
seem
mad.
just a little bit worse, right?
That makes me so mad.
They must have done something bad, right?
That makes me so
770
mad.
million.
What did we just read yesterday, chat? We made you guess how much money BlackRock got slapped on the wrist for not disclosing certain policies. Also, market manipulation. They've done all these things in the past. $770 million to Ripple is what they're trying to get. $2.5 million they're trying to get out of these asset managers. How corrupt? There's something weird going on here that's like, okay, what's really going on behind the scenes? Why are they trying to butcher this industry? Why are they trying to cut us off by our knees? While the largest asset manager in the world, that this would still be a slap on the wrist to them. You know, they're still doing like, I think $100 billion, or they're doing billions of dollars in volume and profit, but crazy to see, just crazy to see. And it's just an obvious attack on the crypto industry.
Yep, for sure. All right, let's do a little Q&A. I want to share this pithy tweet, though, and then we're going to do Q&A. In a cashless society, Bitcoin is the new cash. It's peer-to-peer, it's true ownership, and it's free to spend as you please. Seed phrase is the new cash under your mattress. I almost said CBDC society. I wanted to keep it real simple. All right, let's do a little Q&A here. Is now a good time to accumulate altcoins? I can just say what I'm doing personally. I bought some ETH yesterday because I felt like it is a good time to accumulate some ETH right now. I think we're going to see ETH start to overperform over Bitcoin over the next 6 months. A lot of people disagree with me. That's just where my 2 cents is. What do you think?
Just when to buy altcoins in general?
Yeah, is now a good time within the cycle to accumulate altcoins was the question.
Yeah, you know, I've been dollar cost averaging for quite a while at this point. You know, what Kelly was going over a little bit earlier in the chart today, and guys, again, make sure you check out BitLab and smash that like button on this video. But, you know, for the altcoin season, if you're looking at your personal savings rates, your credit limits, the amount of cash flow coming in, you know, I do believe that altcoins, I think we were talking about this earlier. I don't know if we talked about this on stream, you know, might be moving a little bit after that Bitcoin halving. Generally, when you get, and traditionally in these markets off historical measures, money flows into Bitcoin, then it flows into Ethereum, then it flows into your large cap altcoins, layer twos, and it kind of just it has this trickle down effect. And that's what then you start seeing sparks and trends and whatnot. So at this moment, I think you've seen a lot of these cryptos bottom out. I think you've seen a lot of your favorite altcoins bottom out. The ones that are more correlated, higher market caps, I'm not going to speak for the ones that are like, you know, if you guys are holding anything like $30 million, $40 million at market cap, because those can fluctuate at the snap of a finger. But a lot of, even like Quant, you know, looking at the chart that we were looking at earlier, you know, they hit that $50, and DZ made a great point. If FTX couldn't bring down a lot of these projects and these collapses, and then we saw Silicon Valley Bank again, couldn't break all these prices down. You know, I do believe a lot of these bottoms are in, and I think no matter what, the spot ETF is coming, and money is going to come to this market, whether it's in 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months from now. I think dollar cost averaging on a lot of your favorite projects out here that have that strong utility, have the good tokenomics, and have that community aspect to it. You know, at this point, it's, hey, get into the market, start researching, because if not, you're going to be the family member in 2, you know, Thanksgivings from now saying, man, I remember when I looked at Coinbase and almost bought.
Yeah. Or you're going to be that person who's like, your rich uncle has more Bitcoin than you, even though he bought it 10 years later. Like, weren't you talking about Bitcoin when it was under 10K? You're like, yeah. Like, why do I have more than you? I've been buying that 200K. Like, I don't know, uncle. I don't know.
Yeah, I would agree with that, both of your assessment that really we've got some more time for Bitcoin to run. I do think we're going to see Bitcoin dominance continue to climb, at least for the next 3 to 6 months as we approach this spot Bitcoin ETF, as we approach the halving. Like I said earlier, we notice activity after the halving. So I really think up through the halving and even a little bit after, it's going to be the best time for accumulating Bitcoin. That being said, Josh's point, bottoms are probably in for most altcoins. So if you have strong conviction on a project you've been following and you want to go hard on it now, you can. Just know it will probably fluctuate a lot with Bitcoin, just like we talked about with some of these things like that performed well in this last pump. They pumped up really good. If Bitcoin does come back down and test 30K, they will probably retrace pretty hard. And that's where you need to be careful piling into alts on pumps, because I've seen a lot of people, you know, this market's been so boring for so long, and you get one first sign of life and that FOMO kicks in immediately. I can still, you know, I still sense it. You know, INJ, I wish I had more of. Thorchain, those were the hardest pumpers on these moves. They're altcoins that I like, but you don't want to rush in and buy the top of that. You still want to wait for them to pull back at certain times. But that being said, accumulating them throughout this time isn't necessarily a bad strategy. You just have to know it's probably still Bitcoin's time to shine. And really, we see the altcoin, the crazy. You see a couple different types of altcoin seasons. You can see many altcoin rallies, but true altcoin season comes after a big Bitcoin move and probably after new all-time highs and some of that sort of stuff.
Well,
So
let me just share this and I'll explain. This is why I'm thinking ETH, and yeah, I agree. Dominance might continue a trend, but I think we're going to get a short-term reversal. This is ETH. The amount of ETH. Look at it this way. One ETH is 5% of a Bitcoin versus one ETH is 8% of a Bitcoin. It doesn't seem that big a difference, but this is 20 Ethereum will equal one Bitcoin. This is 12 Ethereum will equal one Bitcoin. I expect somewhat of, I don't know when the bounce is going to happen. Maybe it's going to happen pretty soon. Maybe it waits till it kind of tests this level that we're seeing right here. So maybe there is more pain. I'm feeling good about a short-term reversal, though. When you look at the chart like that, you're like, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not the TA guy. All right, what else have we got?
What about some of the lower cap stuff? Some Candle Daddy wanted to know about some D-side picks. I know, Josh, you're into D-side. Do you have any picks there that you're willing to talk about?
Yeah, there's two things I'm going to say. There's two categories I'm kind of watching moving to this next run. One is going to be, we'll get to D-side in just a second, but the one I want to kind of bounce off was Bitcoin layer 2s. I think, obviously with the Ethereum ETF coming in, you guys saw Stacks actually, dropping a little bit on I think it's the worst performer in the last 24 hours, but it's following Bitcoin like near identically. And so to the conversations that we've been having today with like where the developer is going to build, where's the community at, where's the liquidity at, that is something you definitely want to pay attention to as institutions realize Bitcoin's not only got the regulatory clarity, it's got the spot ETF, it's got the financial products. There's going to be a lot of volume there. And so that's something I've been following with my community for quite a while now. There's a few DeFi products. I'm going to be working probably with Discover Crypto here to drop a, maybe like a Bitcoin layer 2 watch list because they don't really exist out there. And then the other one is DeSci. And the reason for that is, the one thing, no matter what market that is going to do well is unfortunately pharmaceuticals. It doesn't matter if you're in war, it doesn't matter if you're in a pandemic, right? It doesn't matter if you're in just a current market. They're going to be receiving money, subsidiaries, and government funding. And it's a very centralized industry. And there's one thing that every billionaire in the world is trying to focus on right now, and that is simply trying to live longer. And not in the sense that they're going to live to 200, 300 years old, but they live to 90 to 100 years old. And when you get up to those ages, if we can do the right gene expressing and we can actually find the right correlations, we can actually feel like we're 30 or 40, but be 90 years old. So you can have a better life, a more fluid life, and actually be able to do more for your kids and your grandchildren and just enjoy yourself. And so longevity is blowing up right now. There's a lot of scaling. And I hate pharmaceutical companies. I think it's the most centralized industry out there. I actually probably hate it a little bit more than banking because, people like Pfizer and Merck have been sued and actually had settled lawsuits because they've killed thousands of people doing a trial or passing certain drugs that they knew shouldn't be on the market. But some dude got greedy and just said, hey, you know what, FDA official, let me slide you 30% for the first year in profits, when just turn a blind eye. They passed the products. This just happened with Purdue Pharma, which for 20 years, they're still around. They are probably one of the biggest reasons we have an oxycodone crisis in America, which has cut down quite a bit. But again, they've been responsible for a lot of those things. So in the pharmaceutical sector, guys, I'll wrap it up here because I'll rant on that if I don't be careful.
RFK Jr. over here.
Yeah, pretty much. I can go in depth on that. But for the DeSci area, it's for these scientists on a global scale. Scientific discovery is very centralized between the United States, China, Russia, Japan, Australia, etc. And so they're utilizing software as a services and AI and crypto to advance things like scientific discovery, to find hidden connections between. One really cool project right now is using fruit flies. Believe it or not, fruit flies have 70% correlation to human DNA. They age very similarly. I'm breaking my language here, but with like the way they age. And so that is an industry I'm focusing on. I expect billions to flow into that over the next few years. And I think you can tell I'm quite bullish on it.
Yeah. Do you follow David Sinclair?
Yeah.
He's got some great stuff. Max, $2, £2 super chat. Thumbs up, Discover team. Thumbs right back up at you. And if you haven't hit the thumbs up, AKA the like button, please go ahead and do that. I saw another question. What ETH layer 2 are you most bullish on? Well, I pulled up all the ETH layer 2s here. So we can kind of, I'm going to go ahead and say this. As far as bullishness for success, it's going to be Polygon for sure. But when it comes to bullishness for like, what's my multiple going to be? What's my gains going to be? Well, its market cap being near $6 billion makes the multiple a little bit lower. So, I'm going to want to go a little bit lower, but I'm not going to want to go all the way down to the bottom. I don't know enough of these projects. This is definitely the crypto casino down here. Then you end up somewhere kind of in the middle. It's not going to be OP. It's not going to be ARB. So let's go ahead and get rid of those. Mantle, it gives me Conflux vibes, where it's like a lot of people are saying it's going to be the next thing. And is that the rumor mill just dumping on you? So I'm getting Conflux vibes from this. So I'm going to maybe not say Mantle. Then it goes to my bullishness. Then it goes to my bias here. I do like IMX partnering with Polygon in a weird way. That is bullish that they plan on going kind of underneath Polygon. So I'm going to go, there is a strong community for Loopring, and I would also go with IMX. But Loopring, I don't know much about the tech. I just know the community is really strong.
They've been growing extensively on TikTok for
So that's
Loopring.
my two, LRC
I've been
and
seeing
IMX.
that a lot.
Yeah,
So
something about that. They're big on Reddit as well. I often see them on the front page of the Reddit cryptocurrency. It could just be two people gaming.
What about you, Josh? You have any opinions on ETH layer 2s from that list?
I agree with pretty much that entire sentiment. I think Ethereum's still going to be a big mover in this next run, and it's going to still take years for a lot of these other quote unquote ETH killers to even be able to gain a market cap or share of that magnitude. So layer 2s, I'm all for. Still big fan of Polygon Matic. That's going to be primarily one of my blue chips in my portfolio. Just because of the partnerships with, Disney, you have Starbucks, and I unfortunately drink that every day like a white girl. So, that reward system's there for me.
Hey man, it's my favorite drug as well. And a big shout out to Kat, my fiance, my wonderful fiance. Look at the mug she got me. I don't know if we can maybe I have to move it closer.
There he is.
Crypto millionaire loading. I wanted to say, babe, we're not that far. no, it's like one dot. But hey,
coming
thanks.
soon,
Yeah.
2050.
Coming soon.
I got a question for you, DZ. Why did you throw out Arbitrum and Optimism? Because those would be two that I am really bullish on for ETH layer 2. Just you said you're going to skip over those two. Help me understand
if I'm
that.
going to go for the safe play, I'm going for Matic, and I consider them safe plays.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree with you.
Yeah.
I think they're going to get pumped to high heavens by VCs, but the pump might not be equal to the Loopring pump or the Immutable X pump, and I think the pumps here will be pretty close to the Polygon pump. So just in case everything does hit the fan, I'd be a lot more comfortable holding Polygon than I would be Optimism and Arbitrum. And a lot of this is just the tokenomics here. So if we see here, 880, but there's going to be 4.2. So, I mean, we're that's around roughly 20%, meaning 80% of the tokens.
Mm-hmm. That was Optimism, yeah.
80%. But this is the really bad one, 88%. So, we still have, I mean, they're both pretty bad. 80% of the tokens yet to be unlocked, and 88% or 87% of the tokens
I think what Matic
yet to be
said,
unlocked.
89% or something in circulation.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's pull up, just for comparison, then you come here and it's 92%. And so that would be the main reason there, TJ.
There you go. No, that's what I wanted you to demonstrate.
Tokenomics matter, guys.
Tokenomics do matter sometimes. Honestly,
True,
there's going to be a month where it doesn't matter at all.
What's the guy from AVAX? He's like, life's a Ponzi, like the Frog Nation guy.
Uh-huh.
All right. I got one or two more here. Bitcoin to 60K above in 2024. Well, interestingly enough, we were talking about that before during our awesome 8:30 meeting that are actually fun, despite what people might say. So we were talking about it, and this is my thesis here. And, I think maybe most of the office might agree with me. Bitcoin reached new all-time high December 2020. That's when it passed 20K for the first time. So if we go by the 4-year cycle, which is technically 3 years, 10 months, that would put us about a year from today. So I'm saying certainly possible. I'm feeling like 50 is such a strong psychological level. Maybe it'll be like more like flirting between 50 and 69K, but I think we can definitely hit 60 2024, but it'll be Q4 if I had a guess.
Yeah, I think I agree. We're gonna we'll hit 60 in 2024. Pushing new all-time highs. I do think, like you said, it's gonna come after the halving. It's gonna come, again, maybe 120 days ish after the halving. That's when it really starts taking off. So yeah, Q3, August, September, October of next year. I do think we'll be pushing those levels. So yeah, I would think that. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I think that's all we got time for. We love answering your questions. So show up tomorrow, ask us some more. We'll get right into it. We'll cover the news. Thank you for joining. Hit that like button. Make sure you follow Josh. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And make sure you put some notifications on. We got some really good videos coming out the next 4 days. You're definitely going to want to see that. And I'll see you folks tomorrow.